One of the interesting things about COVID is that churches have gone online. What does this mean though? This means that churches are like literally streaming worship and sermons onto the internet. And do you know what is more important for viewer retention? Audio quality or video quality? What is up, my people? My name is Beth, and I run Steadfast Ascent. And today we're going to be talking about ways that you can, for cheap, if not for free, soundproof treat acoustically your recording room so that you can get better recordings. And if you said that audio quality was more important for viewer retention, you would be correct. People really don't care how badly it looks as long as it sounds really good. Which is why treating your rooms, now this is mostly meant for home recording, but I mean I guess it could apply to other things, is such an important thing. People will listen to quality stuff, even if it's not creative, and even if it's not even that good. The thing about acoustically treating your room is that when you record, you are trying to record the thing you're recording and not the sound of the room. Which is why in all of my mic placement videos, I talk so much about ways that you can, use the mic to sound great and do the EQing so that it sounds great and you don't have to do work in your DAW, you can just do the work. The idea behind acoustically treating your recording room is to simply make it so that the only sound your mic will hear is the sound coming from whatever instrument or voice or thing you are trying to record. There are two tools that people use to treat their rooms. One is diffusion and one is absorption. For the most part, a vocal booth is an absorption booth because all it's trying to do is isolate the sound of your voice so that it goes into the mic. It's keeping out all of the sound of my running fridge and the barking dog and the cars on the freeway, and just get that sound of your voice. So for your recording room, you want to do something similar, which is why I recommend in so many of those places, use a closet, use a blanket. However, if you're trying to get an entire room so that you can maybe have more than one musician playing at once or what have you, things can get a little tricky because the amount of clothes that you have in your closet doesn't really translate well to filling an entire room. Now, in the past couple of videos, you may have noticed that I have fancy-dancy shindigs, wall panel, absorption, rigid things. This is honestly a rather expensive solution because if you're on a budget and you have a bunch of comforters, you can just hang blankets from your walls. And you can just put rugs on your floor. You can just put carpets and fluffy items all around. The idea behind all of this is that you want to fill your room with stuff, usually soft, squishy stuff, that will capture the sound so that the only sound that is really bouncing around is the sound that is going into the mic, straight from the source. In a normal room, like perhaps the room you are in right now, you have some flat walls and some hard surfaces, and when sound comes out of your speaker, or from your cake hole, or, an instrument, it goes out towards the mic. It bounces off the walls, and if it bounces off in an angle that comes back into the mic, your mic is now picking up what is functionally room sound. And in a recording room, you are trying to prevent that very thing. As you can see, I don't have my room covered in blankets, or even these fancy wall panels. And in fact, the way that these particular wall panels work is they function both as absorbers and as diffusers. Let me explain. The material that they are made out of is absorbent, so that means when I shout into it, it absorbs the sound and less of it goes other places. However, the ridges are also made so that when a sound hits the ridge, it bounces into more absorption. So if I had the flat side of these things, I could scream into it and it would, absorb some sound. But because I have it with the ridged sides out, I can scream into it and my sound waves are hitting off all of these ridges and they're usually bouncing back into the thing. But when they don't bounce back into the thing, it's better than me screaming at a straight wall because the sound isn't going directly in the same direction, or in a straight direction, so to speak, that a hard surface has. This is how it diffuses, because when I scream into the ridges things, it bounces off at different angles and wild, unpredictable, random angles, which diminishes the amount of room sound that is happening and also just makes the room sound better. If your microphone is going to pick up room sound, it's better to pick up good room sound than to pick up bad room sound. On a budget, your goal is to simply take your room and try to reduce the amount of flat, hard surfaces that you have. Like I said, with these panels, what I have done, because I have a limited number of them and or I do not want to cover my entire room in black, although that would be pretty cool, is I have set them so that on opposite sides of the room, I have a diffuser absorber reflecting against a flat, hard surface. Now doing this means that yes, I have some hard reflective surfaces, but they're gonna bounce directly at something that is going to absorb the sound. Doing this allows you to quite simply not use as much material. So if you are looking at buying these kind of panels, links down below, you don't have to buy as many of them to get the same effect. Unless, of course, you are building specifically a vocal booth or a drum booth, but we'll talk about those some other time probably. Now, if you need your room soundproofed for mixing, you're really going for a bit of a different feel. You still want as much absorption as possible, but you really want absorption, especially in the corners where the, reflections are super bad. I'll talk about that more specifically in another video. So whether you have blankets, or whether you have eggshell foam, or whether you have foam, or whether you have carpets, or whatever you have, you can use normal, everyday, soft, sound-absorbing items in order to soundproof your room. Now, I feel like I've explained that pretty okay, but if you still have questions, you should let me know so that I can clarify the issue. And if you've done this before, what am I missing? What should we also be thinking about? So since I'm gonna make another video on this, you might want to subscribe, because then you'll get notified when I do make that video. If you are watching this video sometime in the future, this video may in fact already be made, and you can check out my home studio recording playlist and see if it is there. It helps me a lot if you found this video useful to give it a like. Since you've made it this far, all I can say is thanks so very much for watching.